Hello, welcome to Level Head. Your host Brenda. Sure, their radio's working correctly here. Uh, wow, this has been. I have 11 articles in this episode about the Syria missile strike, or whatever you want to call it, that transpired last night. Some information morning. Stories broke on the news. All these URLs are, of course, in the description of the video for your convenience. What a bunch of news. The first one here is off of Fox News World, and it says attack show major damage to airfields. There's some video in this if you would take a look at the video. If we can get the hamster to cooperate and to you. Satellite images released Friday of the Syrian air base that 59 U.S. Tomahawk missiles scale destruction to airfields, planes, and fueling facilities. And get the hamster to work here a little bit. Since used by the Assad regime to mount chemical weapons attacks, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights in warplanes were able to take off from the base. Strikes in the countryside near Homs. The base was destroyed by the barrage of 1,000-pound warheads launched from the eastern Mediterranean Sea early on Friday, according to a human rights group. U.S. intelligence sources told Fox News they believe that a deadly gas attack on Syria was carried out by at Sharat Air Base, southeast of Homs. Link that you can click on here for more photos of the attack. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the missile hit a dozen hangars, a fuel depot, and an air defense base. Soldiers were killed and 9 wounded in the airstrike. The governor of Homs province, the airstrikes caused a large number of human casualties. Attack caused deaths and fire, but did not elaborate. 2 senior defense knowledge also told Fox News that about 20 Syrian jets were destroyed. None of the jets managed to take off and escape before the U.S. missiles hit the target, said, adding that destroyed aircraft were jets, not helicopters. No Russian aircraft were at the Sharat airfield. There were between 12 and 100 Russian military personnel present at the base when the missiles hit, took pains to avoid hitting their barracks. The U.S. missiles hit at 3:45 a.m. Syrian state TV called the attack and that led to losses. Indications are that the strike has severely damaged or destroyed Syrian aircraft and support infrastructure and equipment at Sharat Airfield. The government's ability to deliver chemical weapons. Captain Jeff Davis, a Pentagon spokesman, said, according to Rutgers. Davis said the U.S. was still assessing the result of the it fired. That Assad's government learned a lesson was ultimately the regime's choice. Military action would be needed. Told missiles were E or Echo version, latest model, and has two-way satellite communication, allowing the missile to be flight if needed. Carry a 1,000-pound warhead. State TV showed footage of the fast sequence of orange flashes that lit the dark sky in the distance. Dawn. The shaky footage was apparently filmed with a mobile phone camera, and in a different sequence after daybreak, the Syrian TV station I cannot pronounce this. I'm not showed another short clip of smoke billowing in the distance, hovering over a raging fire, the tip of which emerges in the background. The U.S. launched and cruise missiles in response to a chemical weapons attack that killed dozens of civilians, the first direct assault on the government since the beginning of the Civil War in 2011. The airstrike off and said there are no plans for escalation. Condemned the attack, calling it an aggression against sovereign state and a violation of international law. The strikes, Information Policy Commission in the upper house, Alexei Pushkov, said on Twitter that if President Trump launches a military action in Syria, it would put him in the same league with Bush. Trump on Thursday called for all civilized U.S. in seeking to end this slaughter and bloodshed in Syria. It's off of Liberty Writers. It says Russia strikes back. Right after Trump bombed Syria, Putin did the unthinkable. Get it to scroll up. Come on, hamster. Donald Trump did something Obama was afraid to do. After he saw the horrible attack in Syria, he struck back. The Homs airfield, Syrian Air Force is based, Hawk missiles. It's interesting how this number keeps changing. It started yesterday, and the last article is 54. The whole nation cheered, but Russia was furious. Vladimir Putin struck back. The peace treaty of U.S. and Russian troops. According to Putin, the airstrike by the U.S. broke international law. He said it also suspended a treaty between Russia and the U.S. to not use their jets to fight each other in Syria. Called on the UN to take action against Trump and the United States. The problem is the UN hates Assad, so there is no way that's going to happen. Russia has its limits with support for Assad. When asked earlier in the day about the gas attack, a spokesman of Putin's additional support of Assad is not possible in this current world. So who the hell knows what's going to happen next? 3. Did Putin secretly know about the airstrike beforehand and is just playing along? We got to find out answers. The next article that I have is, and this is off of the Political Insider. It says Russia cuts off military back channel line. Very quickly in the ongoing Syria crisis. As you know, last night President Trump ordered the U.S. Navy to fire at an air base in Syria as a response to an attack by Syrian President Bashar Assad. Fox reported that the air base was largely destroyed. Russian President Vladimir Putin responded to the U.S. attack. President Vladimir Putin regards the strike as aggression against a sovereign nation, his spokesman Dmitry Peskov said, noting that the president believes the strikes were carried out in violation of international law and also under pretext. While it's too early to tell, the situation may be escalating with Russia. They have reportedly cut off major de-escalation communication line with the U.S. meant to keep our forces from hitting each other over the skies of Syria. The move in response to U.S. airstrikes on a Syrian airfield carried out in retaliation for a chemical weapons attack. Russia suspends the memorandum of understanding on flight safety incidents in the course of operations in Syria signed with the U.S., said in a statement on Friday. States set up the so-called D line in October of 2020. Russian Air Force in the Syrian civil war. This was the channel President Trump used to warn Russia of the incoming missiles over. The next article that I have is off of BizPac Review. Twitter blows collective gasket when Brian Williams waxes poetic over beautiful weapons flying to Syria. Brian Williams has made a laughingstock of himself again. On Thursday, the MSNBC anchor delivered the news that the United States 50 Tomahawk missiles, but for Williams, it was more like the 4th of July. Beautiful pictures at night from the decks of the 2 U.S. Navy vessels in the eastern Mediterranean, the anchor said as he interviewed retired Navy City officer and expert Malcolm Nance. The great beauty of our weapons. Of this, if you want to watch it. It says they are beautiful pictures of fearsome armaments making what is for them what is brief flight. Williams continued before he asked Nance, what did they hit? The song he was quoting was Leonard Cohen's First We Take Manhattan, which Cohen described as a pro-terrorist anthem. It goes, I'm guided by heavens, I'm guided by this birthmark on my skin, I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons. First we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin. Page interview with Toronto Concert in 1988, Cohen explained what he meant. Sure of what it means right now because I had this long voyage from Chicago. I think it means exactly what it says. It's a terrorist song, response to terrorism. There's something about terrorism that I've always admired. The fact that there are no alibis or no compromises is always very attractive. I don't like it when it's manifested on the physical plane. I don't really enjoy the terrorist activities. Psychic terrorism. I remember there was a great poem by Irving Layton that I once read. I'll give you it was, well, you guys blow up an occasional airline and kill a few children here and there, he says, but our terrorists, Jesus, Freud, Marx, and Einstein, is still quaking. It is unlikely that Williams knew by the lyrics in the song, but the anchor's cavalier attitude toward war, many on Twitter, especially the left-wing crowd that gets its news from MSNBC. Haltwanger put a tweet out that says, why the F is Brian Williams still allowed to speak in any capacity for a major media outlet? Dear Brian Williams, there is nothing beautiful about war. Hell only exists because humans keep creating it. Weinstein tweeted out, oh, did Brian Williams drape himself in the glories of war as he saw it again? Tweets out, Brian Williams says, I need a war, and Trump says, here's an airstrike, and Williams says, those missiles on the ship look beautiful, I was just there. Another one tweets out, Brian Williams misinterpreting a Leonard Cohen lyric in an attempt to glorify war is hysterical in that I both laughed and lost my mind. Other ones, the article continues, it says, poor Williams, whenever he's trending on Twitter, it's not because he did anything good. It didn't take long for social media to mock Williams, who was removed as NBC anchor and sent to MSNBC Siberia because of his penchant for stretching the truth. There's some more tweets. One says, this just in, Brian Williams is on the ground dodging Tomahawk missiles in Syria. The article goes on, says the meme mockery was top notch. There's a bunch more. Gracious. Why does Brian Williams still have a job at MSNBC? Rachel Maddow is way more qualified than him. She the report. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them here. Can't make this stuff up. Next one here is off of BizPac Review. Catches up here. There we go. Mark Stein has some sobering words for President Trump on Syria. After chemicals purportedly dispersed by forces under Syrian President Bashar al-Assad killed dozens of men, women, and children in a rebel-held territory, it looks like an American administration is about to play kingmaker or king remover in the Middle East yet again. except the last time we tried it in Libya, things didn't work out so well. That and the time before that, but you get the point. On Fox News Your World, conservative author and commentator Mark Stein had some sobering words for President Trump as he treacherous waters. According to Stein, Trump should be cautious about overthrowing a country's government without having a clear end game. To go back to Democrats' most unnecessary debacle, Hillary Clinton thought knocking off Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi in Libya would be easy and cost-free, Stein told host Neil Cavato. It wasn't any of those things because of the power vacuum and destabilization that followed. End game here. You got to know what you want Syria to look like after Assad, or it's a waste of time, Stein continued. Trump has never been very clear that, or try this again, Trump has been very clear that he regards Afghanistan for 15 years as a complete waste of time. He doesn't want to get into a similar situation. And there is video, if you want to watch it. Says those supportive of Trump argue that the airstrike was strategic and quick and meant to send a clear message to America's enemies. The next article is also off of BizPac Review. Two top Democrats break from colleagues, back Trump's missile strike on Syria. House and Minority Leaders Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi have moved away from their Democratic colleagues by endorsing President Donald Trump's missile strike on Syria, making sure Assad knows that when he commits such a despicable atrocity, he will pay the price. It's the right thing to do. Schumer said in a statement, ABC News reports, it is incumbent on the Trump administration to come up with a strategy and consult with implementing it. I salute the professionalism and skill of our armed forces who took action today, Schumer added. Pelosi had much the same reaction, calling the Tomahawk missile strike ordered by Trump against the al-Sharat military base in Syria's proportional response to regime's use of chemical weapons. It was conducted by 2 U.S. destroyers in the eastern Mediterranean Sea on Thursday evening. The Pentagon notified Russians in advance of the strike using confliction line of communications and attempted to avoid striking the area of the base where the Russians were believed to be stationed. However, Pelosi added that if the president intends action against Syria, he should ask Congress to pass an authorization for use of military force. Lawmakers criticized Trump for declining to seek permission from Congress for the strike, which took place in response to alleged use of chemical weapons by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's military at Idlib on Tuesday. If true, this is unconstitutional, Democratic Representative Ted Lieu said on Twitter. In 2011, President Barack Obama ordered a strike against Libya without any kind of congressional approval. So off of BizPac Review, and shows inkling of support for President Trump's Syria move and lives their minds. And it says warning for graphic and disturbing content in this article. President Donald Trump authorizes a missile strike on Syrian military air base Thursday in response to Bashar al-Assad use of chemical warfare against his own citizens 2 days earlier. In a heartfelt message to the American people, the president said he was particularly moved by images of Syrian children who fell victim to the nerve agent used against them. Using a deadly nerve agent, Assad choked out the lives of helpless men, women, and children, he said. It was a slow and brutal death for so many. Even beautiful babies were cruelly murdered in the very barbaric attack. Ever suffer such horror. Even Tony Blinken, who served as an Undersecretary of State and Deputy National Security Advisor for President Barack Obama, told CNN's Wolf Blitzer that Trump did absolutely the right thing in strike. And there is video in this. Users nonetheless went ballistic, claiming that the president was shedding crocodile tears and that his child of God statement was merely an excuse to go to war. Twitter comments. Let's see, I'll grab one. It says, when you won't let the children being murdered into your country, you can't claim to be acting based on taking a moral position. Another one here says, Syrian kids gas Republicans ready for war. 20 U.S. kids gunned down at Sandy Hook Elementary. 2013, Republicans block expanded gun control legislation. At least one person believed that Trump used the strike as a distraction from the founded accusation that he had colluded with Russia to win the presidency. One tweet here says the CNN needing a distraction from his impending treason arrest moved him to act in Syria. Another one says CNN, get back to Russia, Trump collusion, please. Shots at CNN and wondered whose side the normally left-leaning Obama-loving network was on. It says, as a member of the liberal moderate tradition, your quote simply adds more weight to the veracity of Donald Trump. Another one says, and CNN actually reported this, I'm shocked. Retired Army General Jack Keane applauded the strike, and a clear and unmistakable message to friends alike throughout the world is back. Surprisingly, Senate and House Minority Leaders Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi came out in support of the strike. Here's the president's Thursday night announcement of the missile strike, and there's video of, care to watch that if you didn't see it when he was on the television. The next one here is off BizPack Review. It says, not enough egg for all the lib faces who celebrated Obama's Syrian chemical weapons victory too early. A lot of members of Barack Obama's administration, including the former president, are walking around with egg on their faces after Syria's chemical attack this week killed scores of its own citizens, including children. Clip of Obama's speech, if you would care to watch that. It says, after Obama's embarrassing reversal of his own Syrian chemical weapons red line, his administration needed to win for public confidence. It came in the form of peaceful resolution whereby Syria agreed to remove their entire stockpile of weapons of mass destruction, including chemical weapons, and Russia would make sure the Assad regime lived up to that agreement. Officials claimed that all chemical weapons had been removed. It turns out we're getting chemical weapons out of Syria without, like Obama said, beating his chest. We struck a deal where we got 100% of the chemical weapons out. Then Secretary of State John Kerry chimed in. A delivery by air of suspected nerve gas in northwestern Syria threw those claims into its ash heap of other lies. While Obama administration officials may want the public to forget all those claims, Washington Free Beacon, a video recordings, won't let them get away with it. Pop some corn, pull up your favorite easy chair, and enjoy the show. Social media wouldn't let them forget either. Tweets here. I got to put this 2014 fact check of Hall of Fame. See, another one says don't they always jump the gun? The other one says, I think they jumped the gun on Trump's imminent impeachment, too. Jumped the gun on that as well. On Waters and on Trump's impeachment to this day. Off of BizPack Review. As the hamster catches up. Wheel spinning. We're getting closer. This one says, fierce. Nikki Haley blasts UN for proposed closed-door meeting, then Syrian government in public. Nikki Haley just double-dog dared the United Nations. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations reminded members of the UN Security Council that the days of Obama administration kowtowing to their demands are over. In a tweet on Friday, Haley shared a statement to members of the United Nations daring anyone who wanted to defend the atrocities of the Syrian government to do it in public. This is a release here that was put out, United States Mission to the United Nations, Office of Press and Public Diplomacy for immediate release on April the 7th, 2017. U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley This morning, Bolivia requested an emergency UN Security Council meeting to discuss the events in Syria. The discussion to be held in closed session. The United States, as president of the council this month, decided the session would be held in the open. Any country that chooses to defend the atrocities of the Syrian regime will have to do so in full public view for all the world to hear. She put that in a tweet and sent it out to everybody. Haley was responding to a request to hold an emergency closed-door meeting of the Security Council to discuss the events in Syria following President Trump's order on Thursday for a U.S. airstrike on Syrian airbase. Haley was not kidding in her refusal to comply with the request from Bolivia, defying anyone who wanted to support the regime of al-Bashar Assad to do so in full public view for all the world to hear. Has been blamed for the deadly chemical attack Monday that killed dozens of his own citizens, including women and children. New ambassador set the tone for the U.S. relationship with the United Nations, declaring in January that for those that don't have our back, we're taking names. Haley minced no words on Wednesday before the U.S. airstrike on Syria as she confronted the Russian ambassador to the UN. How many more children have to die before Russia cares? She asked, locking her eyes on him. Latest fiery statement left no doubt that Trump's America First campaign promises are being fulfilled, and the curtain is finally closed on the Obama apology tour. There's a bunch of tweets here. One says, I love having a pit bull in our corner. Another one says, boom, we got our balls back. Another one says, what it was like to have a UN ambassador that won't be pushed around by other diplomats. Keep up the good work. And there's a whole bunch more on the same vein here if you'd like to read those. The next one here is off of Liberty Writers. Is shocked right before Trump's bombing, Syria did the unimaginable. Basically unstoppable this week. You got Gorsuch, met China, and took down Assad. Unbelievable. What will really amaze you, however, and people did after President Trump bombed their Homs airfield. Syrians across the world fell in love with Donald Trump. Like I said, this is incredible. Social media has been eaten up with pro-Trump accounts from Syria for fighting ISIS and Assad when Obama never would. The individual support, while overwhelming, was not all our president got. Many major Syrian anti-Assad groups sang Trump's praises as well. Of tweets that are in, so obviously I can't read those. It says, it looks like President Donald Trump has done the impossible yet again. In a matter of moments, he won over the hearts and minds of Syrian people. But President Trump was not done there. The building of refugee centers inside Syria to handle the refugees without sending them across the world. I think we all need to take a second and say a special prayer for President Trump. We'll try this again. God, thank you for blessing us with such an incredible and good-hearted leader. Please keep him and the civilians in Syria safe as he works to make America even better. The next article and final one in this episode is off of BizPac Review. Syrians celebrate hero Trump after airstrike. And there's a quote here. It says, I am going to name my son Donald. He has balls. After 6 years of interaction and ineptitude of the Obama administration, the Syrian people finally have hope for the future. On Thursday, President Donald Trump ordered the strategic strike of the Syrian air base that is believed to be where al-Assad launched a chemical gas attack against his own people. And a people weary of the former administration's red lines that led nowhere and assurances that Assad no longer had chemical weapons, which were apparently not true, celebrated the news. It was the happiest news that I've heard in my life, a man identified only as Ahmad, which was his identity, told Public Radio International. I am a Syrian child who suffered under Bashar al-Assad and Russian President Vladimir Putin. I welcome Donald Trump's action against the killers of my people. Putin and Assad bombed my school, killed my friends, and robbed my childhood. It's time to punish the killers of children of Syria. 7-year-old Syrian girl, Bana al-Abed, wrote on Twitter, child who suffered under Bashar al-Assad and Putin. I welcome Donald Trump's action against the killers of my people. Let's see. Abed has gained fame for years of her pleading for international help on social media. Another man who identified himself as Syrian refugee amazed himself by thanking President Trump. As a Syrian refugee, I never imagined. Thanks, Donald Trump, for bombing the regime who displaced me. Please do more. Kawas Kale wrote on Twitter. Says he also shared a tweet deriding Obama's inaction. Says Trump, the tweet reads, Trump done more in 48 hours than Obama did in 6 years. People in parts of the rebels have started to change their social media avatars to pictures of President Trump with messages such as thank you and we love you, the Independent reported. Kazakra, or Zakaria, I guess it is, who survived a chemical attack by Assad in 2013, told the Telegraph that he is going to name his child after President Trump. I'm going to name my son Donald if I have one. This man's a hero. He has balls. Game changer. It is a new era that shows that America will actually do something. It shows there are real red lines in Syria, he said from his home in Germany. Like Donald Trump says, this is huge. And that's all I have in this episode. More episodes to follow. If you like what I'm doing here, give it a thumbs up. Share it on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. Subscribe. That way you'll stay informed. See you in the next one.